Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped, something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny, I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
Still having fun?
Oh yeah, and I've been and I've been still working with the parts, on a day-to-day basis. So it's been good. I feel like every session we have gives me more to work with when I'm not in a session. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, should we get started with another?
Yes.
Okay. How about a minute of meditation?
Sounds good.
I'll set a timer. Okay. I've got some notes from last time. If you want to resume any of that. Otherwise, do you have any parts or anywhere you'd like to go today?
Yeah. So actually, last time helped a lot with Undeserver, and while he is still at large, no, I don't mean that in a disparaging way, just a silly way. I love Undeserver. But no, he still feels crappy sometimes, but it's a lot better than it was, and I would like to come back to him, but right now I feel like I have something more pressing. Which is, so I think I've maybe told you this before, but I have one of those autoimmune inflammatory conditions in my gut. But I know that IFS studies have been done with RA, which is another inflammatory condition. And so I'm wondering if some parts work might help, because stress is a big factor, and I know it contributes to inflammation. And I would really like to get to know parts that could be exacerbating things. And I have I have an idea of what part it might be, but I'm not totally sure, because you would think it would be a part that lives in my gut, and that might be right. But there's another one that lives in my head and my jaw and my throat area, that is behind a lot of constant stress for no reason, and like hypervigilance, and honestly some like OCD symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that one has me constantly tense, and I can't imagine that is contributing positively to my levels of inflammation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know whether to work with that one or try to see if I can feel parts like in my gut. But I feel like since this one keeps coming up, maybe I should try working on the anxious one.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be my vote.
Alrighty.
Because if you're not feeling, if you don't have parts that feel like they're in the gut, then
I think I do, but this one that's in my jaw has been just something that I keep noticing, especially since Undeserver has gotten a little quieter. There's always, a part that I'll notice is causing me the most stress and pain. And I think that used to be Undeserver. And now, and I take it as a good sign that I've found that I've switched to this other one and feel like it's because they were both always there, and now it's just one has lessened, so I want to focus on the other.
Great. Yeah. Sounds like a good plan.
Cool.
Okay. So head, jaw, throat.
Yeah.
Causes constant. It's constantly tense.
Yes. And this one, let's see if I can think of all the relevant stuff, because I've run into it before, and I got to a point with it one time. I think it's the same part. And I realized that it's actually, and this might be where some of the gut stuff comes in, because I think it's actually supposed to be lower in my body. Like, I think it belongs like in my whole abdominal area. I think it's supposed to be some kind of like force of like life energy that exists inside me, but it's all been shoved up into my head.
Okay.
And it's hard to get it to come back down, because I guess it thinks it's not safe or something.
Well, that makes sense to me.
Me too.
I know that. Okay, great. Yeah, I know we're on the edge of, what we can explore scientifically with that kind of stuff. And yet I feel like I get it, and that I have similar parts that have that same kind of, up and down the chakras kind of feeling.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people probably do. There's so much dissociation from the body with people. So.
Okay. So, as you're noticing it there, how do you feel towards it?
Bit of concern, bit of curiosity. I want to get to know it.
And what is the concerned voice saying?
Will I be able to get to know it? Will I be able to help? Yeah.
I think we hear from that one almost every time.
Yeah, and you know what? Sometimes I think that is the same part.
It's the same. It's the tension itself.
Yeah. This and if it's responsible for the OCD-like symptoms, then that makes total sense to me. It's this constant, exhausting checking and rechecking of every thought I ever have, like a record skip.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you can just invite that part. If it is two different parts, you can invite them both to kind of reveal themselves, so you can see that distinction.
Yeah, there's definitely a feeling of it it feels noticed and validated. And this is what I've been doing the past few days with it, is kind of saying hi to it and like reminding it that it doesn't have to do that hypervigilance if it doesn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to help. It seems to calm down for at least like a moment or two. And so I feel like it is stuck in the past, and it doesn't realize that it doesn't need to do its job anymore.
Great. Okay. So you can just let it know that you're curious about it, that you want to help it out.
Yeah. It wonders how I'm going to help it.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah, I'm feeling a sense of anxiety emanating from it for sure.
More about that. Not sure it can be helped, or is there something else?
No, it's just a general anxiety. It's like generalized anxiety disorder personified.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe you can, if this is helpful, you can just let it know that its anxiety is okay right now. Like it's okay to express that and to let you feel it, even if it's just for a moment, to kind of get a really clear picture of what that's like.
Okay. There's another part that's kind of muting it, which definitely makes sense to me, but the sense of anxiety is really kind of like a like yeah, like, oh no, like everything is bad. I don't know what it is that's actually bad, but like, yeah, it's just something is wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you could let it know that we want to help find out what it is that's wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that it's, again, its anxiety is okay.
Yeah. It responds well to hearing that it's not doing anything wrong.
Mm-hmm. And is it aware of you there?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Mm-hmm. You could ask about the things that are wrong, even if it doesn't have very, because you said like, it doesn't know what's wrong, but you could ask it to try to point you in the right direction, or just.
Yeah. Yeah, see, now I feel calm, suspiciously calm.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's definitely intervening.
The muting part.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Just check in with it.
Okay.
Let it know you see it.
It has the typical fear of emotional overwhelm.
Right. That makes sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
And how would you like to respond to that?
I would say that it makes sense to be afraid. And It can stop the process whenever it needs.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to listen to agenda part.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. It seems to like hearing that.
Yeah. So it's the part that is afraid of the overwhelm from this anxious part. It comes in to mute it, to make you calm.
Yeah.
Did it respond at all to what you said to it?
It's
You said it liked it.
Yeah. It's kind of like, good, thank you. And then agenda part will pipe up and be like, rah, 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 and then I'll be like, nope. But it's watching agenda part, and it's like, you're gonna cause problems.
Yeah. So agenda part is saying, go faster.
Yeah, agenda
get in
part
there,
is,
and this part's saying, hold on, this could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just let them know you see them. Ask them for space.
Mm-hmm.
They've both been very valuable at times. And yet this anxious part is constantly tense. So
Yeah. Right. Well, I feel a little bit like actually calmer now instead of fake calm.
All right.
So that's good. And maybe just, the negotiation can be just let through as much of the anxious part as it wants to. And it doesn't have to be 0 and it doesn't have to be 100.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and you already kind of did that. I suggested really feeling into it, and you did. And, didn't sound like it was too overwhelming to get a look at it.
Yeah, it's true. The stopping part is already doing its job well. So
you could also negotiate with the anxious part itself and say,
yeah,
okay, I got all these other parts that are ready to shut down this conversation. Can you promise to, not overwhelm me? I want to get to know you. I want to help you out. Don't overwhelm me. And just see if it can.
It seems good with that. I think it's turned down the intensity a little bit.
Great.
Yeah, it's kind of just like, no.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can ask it what's wrong.
Yeah.
Impending doom.
Okay. Is there more?
There's something. There is sort of more, but it's hard to describe.
Okay. Which is fine, as long as As long as you're getting it and you can
I
reflect that
think
back
I'm
to
getting it.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I think what I've managed to get is like, and this is the same thing that I was saying in my therapy session last week. So, yeah, there's a feeling that like I've done something wrong or I'm in trouble, but I don't even know. It's not even attached to a specific instance. I'm just in a constant state of having done something wrong.
Okay. And that is the impending doom? Or is
I
that separate
believe
from it?
so. I believe it's like I did something and I'm going to get in trouble at any point. And so I need to be aware constantly,
Hypervigilant.
yeah, bracing myself. I'm pretty sure it comes from being a kid in elementary school and being always having my like dad or one of my teachers angry at me for not doing enough work.
Okay. See if you can check that out with the part.
Okay.
Just ask it to show you more about
Yeah.
where that might come from,
Mhm.
who you're going to get in trouble with.
Yeah, it really seems like a parental sort of in trouble. Like I'm going to be found out and punished, and I'm the one who's wrong. And just like yeah, disapproval from authority from on high.
Yeah. Can be pretty terrifying.
Yeah. It's almost just a given that it's going to happen. It's like, it really is background noise that I've always done something bad. It's, yeah.
And you've also had the background noise of undeserver who is disapproving from on high.
True. Very true. Interesting.
You could ask it about that. Ask it if it's
Yeah.
how much of its experience is looking out in the world for that disapproval versus the parts.
Yeah. It definitely has had other parts chastise it. It gets beat up a lot for not doing enough work, for not doing enough chores around the house. Like the undeserver stuff might be a factor, but I think an even bigger factor for this part is just the like tasks that I don't do that it gets in trouble for.
Okay. Just let it know you see that.
Yeah.
And that you appreciate its hypervigilance or its intention to be so vigilant to keep those terrifying feelings from overwhelming you.
Yeah, I think like it's what comes to mind is just that there's no other reaction you can have when you're constantly in trouble like that. Besides, like, it's just impossible to relax when you're always on the verge of getting told
Punished.
off. Yeah. So it makes sense.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
And is it pointing to a specific age when it talks about not doing enough work or enough chores? Is any of that in the present?
It gets beat up for those things in the present, but I still think it's reacting to it in a way that's stuck in the past.
And just so I'm clear, is the getting beat up in the present, is that from inside versus outside?
Inside, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, present day parts are beating it up for not doing for not enough chores, and in the past, yeah.
I have like maybe like one person or like every now and then somebody from the outside will do it, will cause it, but it's much more like a task manager sort of part beating it up.
Okay. Can you just let it know that you've seen how these other parts have been hard on it?
Yeah. Yeah, they've produced the same situation that was there when I was a kid, which as much as they didn't mean to do that, it sucks.
Yeah. And does it point to a specific age of that kid?
Yeah, my mental images are all from like 4th, 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That's come up in our other explorations, that age.
Yes, for sure.
How does it like the way that we're working with it so far?
It's
the way that you're being with it and listening to it.
It's glad that it's getting time. It is still pretty blocked though by the other part. So I think
the muting part?
Yeah. So I'm not feeling a lot of what it's saying very viscerally. And of course, I have a part that's concerned about that I'm not getting the full picture, that I'm not having enough contact with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's good that you're looking out for that.
Yeah.
As far as getting the full picture, I mean, what we already have to go on is significant, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's not like you're just making all this stuff up or completely in the dark about it.
Right. And something I noticed just now is that I was kind of naturally clenching my stomach without thinking about it. I get an idea that this part. So when I was younger, I would constantly complain about feeling nauseated, and I had like a terror of throwing up, but like my fear of throwing up made me feel like I was gonna throw up. So it's like horrible catch-22, and And it almost seems like maybe this part got pushed out of my body because it was causing so much like like so much, I don't want to say trouble, because obviously it's well intentioned, but according to the other parts, I guess maybe too much trouble because I was like afraid to go anywhere or do anything because I might get sick or something.
Same ages, 4th grade, 5th grade?
Yeah. And a little younger too, when all that fear started. Like 2nd, 3rd grade as well.
And I assume you're hearing the connection between this part and the gut that you originally brought up.
It makes me definitely think about it. Like, I feel like I can't say anything for sure yet, but it's interesting that it does belong perhaps lower in my body. And there's also been like So yesterday, or like this, I guess this past weekend, when I was doing some work with these parts, there was a part associated with this other one as well, that I think drives a lot of my compulsions and perfectionistic tendencies. And it's just this, like, it's sort of an aggression, like if you're gonna do something, you've got to do it completely. Like, if you're gonna, I don't know, if you're, not that I've ever punched a wall, but like the mental image is like, if you're gonna punch a wall, you have to punch all the way through the wall. It's that kind of energy. And I feel that kind of energy when I do some of these weird, like, physical tics and compulsions and thought loops and stuff. Of like, it has to be aggressively complete. Yeah.
Okay.
And I wonder if that isn't like a manager in its exile that we're looking at. Do it right versus I've always done something wrong kind of thing.
Yeah. And this feels like it's overlapping or kind of the same parts that we've already.
Like, it feels like they're related. Yeah, they definitely were both active at the same time the other day when I was looking at them, and I can feel that sort of angry part active now. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you could check in with that angry part and see what it thinks about you working with the anxious part, and see what it thinks about. Go ahead.
It's not giving me any thoughts about anxious part, but it's just like, it's happy to be acknowledged. Yeah. It's glad that it's being seen. I don't think it really likes its job. So, but it's just angry. What's it angry about? I'm not sure yet.
You could ask if it's if it protects the same part that the anxious part protects, if it's protecting the same kid who feels like they're always going to get in trouble or is terrified of throwing up.
Yes, I think it is protecting the anxious part. Like the signals that these parts give me feel so small that it's hard to tell if I'm imagining them sometimes. But I do feel like if it answered, it said yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds to me like that muting part has done a lot of heavy lifting in keeping down the background noise, even though they're...
Yeah. It has, yeah.
Okay. Well, we can learn more about the angry part, or we can keep going with that anxious one.
I think the angry part wants some attention.
Okay.
It just feels like like things are never enough. Things are never good enough. Things are never complete. And it doesn't like that. Like it's not invested necessarily in staying angry. It's just frustrated because things aren't complete. It's very like person angrily washing their hands for the second hour in a row energy.
Okay. And how do you feel towards it as you notice all that about it?
I feel a sense of camaraderie with it. I'm glad that it's happy and that it's talking. Yeah.
Is there more that it wants to show you about what it's concerned about if it didn't get your attention that way?
Yeah, it says like things won't be complete. Things won't be good. Like I won't be satisfied in some way. It'll be like a loose thread in my brain annoying me. That kind of thing.
And how about the fear of being punished? Does it also point to that?
There's that fear is what it's protecting, I'm pretty sure. It's not like afraid of punishment. It's not giving me a vibe like that's what it thinks about a lot, but it's got a vibe of like things aren't good enough. And so then, yeah, below that, there is a feeling that I'm not good enough. Yeah. And I guess this agitated part just feels like that's the way things are. And so it always has to feel this way. But maybe that's not how things have to be. And that's an exciting prospect.
Right. And what does it think about the idea of you going to an exile that doesn't feel good enough and helping it out?
It seems good with that. it's like, sure, like, do something so that I don't have to feel this way anymore.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm feeling that camaraderie too of like,
Yeah.
let's complete the meeting of these parts.
Yes. Here, here.
And how about the anxious part? What does it think about that?
Mm. Seems like I can't really contact it. I think it's being blocked again.
I'm just looking back on some notes to see if we can evoke it with the last things it said.
Yeah. It's
He was talking about how it gets beat up for not doing chores, and then there was some. Then we got into learning about the 4th, 5th grader complaining about nausea.
yeah. And there's a sense of I'm bad. Yeah. It's a shame of like I'm not good enough to make these people happy. Like there's all the stuff around that, which is the assignments that didn't get done and getting yelled at and stuff. But the underlying thing is that clearly I wasn't just naturally cool and talented and hardworking enough to impress people. And nothing I do, like no assignment or project or artwork I do is something that I could be perfectly happy with because I'll always doubt whether I'm good enough to have done a good job on it or whatever.
How do you feel about going to that part now?
I would like to. I guess I'm concerned that it won't happen.
That what won't happen?
That I won't be able to truly go to that part and be with it because I'll get stopped again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess agenda part is just kind of upset and frustrated at this point at the parts that block exiles, and it's and like ironically, it is like holding up the process, but it's just it's this irritation that arises whenever I consider going to a part and then I feel like I'm gonna get stopped before I even start. Mm-hmm. And then I know I'm not in self because I feel defeated and can't go to a part when you're feeling defeated. That's not self. So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. And there's some truth to that, right? Like you do go to parts and then often another part jumps in, or we run out of time, or like we don't aggressively complete it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel for agenda part. It's frustrating having all these parts jump in.
And yet, every part that we've spent any time with seems to be appreciative of that.
Yeah, you're right, it does. And I'm not exactly sure why that doesn't always seem to matter to agenda part. That's interesting, actually.
How old does agenda part think that you are?
Good question. But before I forget, I just had another thought, which is, or I guess I had a communication from agenda part, which is it's actually what frustrates it is the constant self-questioning and self-doubting. And I know that exact feeling of self-questioning and self-doubting comes from the frustrated OCD part.
Right.
So yeah, it's kind of, and I have seen this dynamic before with them. It's agenda part versus agitated part, or self-questioning part. Might be Jerry, honestly. that's got these doubts all the time. It drives agenda part crazy. So it's like there's the sense that yes, even though getting to know the parts helps, and even though we make progress, this one constant broken record self-doubter is always going to slow things down to a grind by like questioning everything.
And did we already speak with that part in this conversation? We talked to an aggressive part.
That's the one that we just,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought a moment ago it said, yeah, fine, go ahead to this exile.
It did. That's interesting. But
could be some residual, just some.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Or I guess maybe it's like, fine, go to the exile, but I'm still gonna second guess everything and come up with some worst case scenarios for you or something, like fine, sure, try, go ahead.
I mean, I think that's a go. I think that's a green light.
Yeah.
A lot of these parts, I'm thinking about the undeserver who is a devil's advocate, and it's like, we need that. We need some devil's advocate. We need some healthy skeptical doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't feel safe doing this if we didn't have parts that are saying, wait, are we doing this wrong?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that is interesting. That agenda part is so frustrated, but then this other part is ostensibly fine with going to the exile. Yeah, but then I think it's also this agitated part that sees the blocking part and goes, oh, it's blocking. Can you be sure you're not making all of this up? You're probably making all of it up. And so it might be okay with us going to its exile, but it's also going to undermine like any information that we actually get. And that's what drives agenda part insane.
Let's check that out. The undermining of the information we got or that we do get. I just want to share some of the information that I already got that sounds like it came from an exile, and we can run it past these protectors or this one that's doubting and just see if we're on the right trail and what it thinks about that.
That sounds good.
So we heard a part saying, I'm bad, feeling shame.
Yeah.
I'm not good enough to make these people happy.
I'm
not cool or talented or hardworking enough.
Yeah.
Nothing I do, an assignment or a project, I can be happy with because I'm always going to doubt that I'm not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, those are all definitely for sure things that I have felt like
Yeah.
They're definitely not made up out of nowhere. I think really what the agitated part is being particular about is it's going, well, you're not feeling that viscerally right now. You're not connected to the part. So you're
That's
just
right.
like saying stuff you remember, and you're feeling like the tiniest little thing, and then you're combining it with the past, but you're not like actually you're not actually connecting. And
Okay.
it's sort of right. But except
Yeah.
that the problem is that its own questioning kind of also undermines that connection because
Right.
it distracts.
Right. And I don't mean to be disagreeable, but when you were saying those things, I don't know, it sure sounded like they were being directly witnessed, or at least directly recalled. It just didn't sound to me like you're looking through your notes to remember how a part used to feel.
No, that's true.
And so I get why a part that wants to aggressively complete things would say, well, that's not, how do we know if that's sufficient or thorough?
Yeah, you have to be 100% sure that you're experiencing it right in this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the proof? And it's that same feeling that leads to like the stomach clenching and the jaw tightening and which then leads to the exhaustion and the lying in bed because I'm so tense all the time that I have no energy.
Yeah. So, one way to handle this or to approach this is to continue negotiating with that part, continue answering its questions, spend more time with it, like you did with Undeserver, where, you're spending a significant amount of time really, really with it and understanding everything it wants you to understand. And another way is with this part in particular to say, okay, give me 5 minutes, give me a shot. See if I can go from 1% to 3% connection with this exile, and then come back in and give your opinions. So that's just asking it for space, basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So listen to that part more, and also ask it for a chance. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm suggesting those as kind of two separate ways to go with it, and whatever feels right for you, and etc.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sometimes you just gotta say, all right, thanks for your opinion.
Right.
I'll talk to you in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
How does it respond to those ideas?
The skepticism, of course. It's like, well, how do you know it won't get screwed up anyway?
Yeah.
But that's just what it does. I can't expect it to not do what it does.
And does it see and can it appreciate the work that you've done with other protectors? That when you are in self-energy, you cannot screw it up. That all of them have been relieved to meet you.
It believes in self-energy. It's constantly testing the purity of said energy and criticizing if it sees something wrong, which is good. Like, it's good that it notices when something is off. It's a very good parts detector. But then sometimes it's so thorough that it just derails the whole thing.
And it also, I think it had, well, like you said, it did give some permission. And so it sounds like it has its own hope that, yes, unburdening an exile, especially one that it's protecting, could help it out, help it relax.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does. It does feel that way. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, it's like it's almost trying to get its exile unburdened in a way, because it's like testing whether we're doing it right or something.
Yeah. So yeah, what does it need from you? What does it need from you going forward with it or with you going to an exile?
It needs reminders that it's allowed to relax, because it is stuck in the past and it forgets that it's really so tied up with the anxious part, and there's just that feeling of like, oh right, I don't have to be like this, but it's like having that realization over and over and over again until it becomes the default.
And how does it want to be reminded? What's an efficient way to do that?
In a very in like a permission giving way, not like a stop it, but like you don't have to do that. You're free to go. You've done enough. Yeah. Seems to help it a little bit. It does keep forgetting that and has to be reminded repeatedly, which I find kind of interesting.
Is there any other tools, techniques, anything that you can think of or that it can think of that would just make that easier to communicate?
I do think listening to it, it seems like it's the part that I have to pay attention to the most right now. It's like it's like the undeserver and undeserver's exile, where like paying so much attention to undeserver kind of broke that barrier, and I do still want to go back and work with that more, but it's hard to tell. I feel like I haven't had a lot of direct contact with these exiles, and I feel like more what tends to happen, which isn't a bad thing, but like I'll just form a really good connection or like a decent connection with a protector, and then after a while the protector seems to relax, and maybe that causes a partial unburdening of the exile or something. Because I don't remember any moment where I went in and I was like, oh, that's undeserver's exile, but I just know that I got to know undeserver, and then things sort of just kept shifting.
Yeah.
And maybe I was being with the exile the whole time and I just wasn't realizing it. But long story short, it seems to be that if I pay enough attention to the protector, I eventually get to a good place.
I think so too.
Yeah.
There's definitely, they're so connected.
Yeah.
And when they're describing the thing that they're worried about, and suddenly we're hearing from an exile, and it's hard to keep them so perfectly separated.
Yeah.
I think you are having contact with this exile in our conversations, and that there is some kind of just benefit of proximity.
Yeah.
And especially also to anxious parts. It's like, we can hear from it.
Yeah.
It's still waiting. It's still not overwhelming.
Yeah.
The agitated, aggressive part.
Mm-hmm.
How old does it think you are?
That's roughly that elementary school age.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, like
I was
second
asking,
through fourth grade.
Mm-hmm. I was asking because I was wondering if that would be an efficient way to what we were talking about before, to help it relax and recognize that it doesn't have to work so hard. Sometimes the age thing can be kind of a silver bullet to
like updated on my age. Let's see. I may have actually already tried this a few days ago. I can't remember if it was at this part, but I think it might have been. But let me see. Let me try. Yeah, it was with this part, and it likes that I'm older. And I think it just keeps forgetting that I'm not older, or that I am older. I mean, it keeps forgetting.
Okay. So in the future, when it's becoming active, you can let it know that it's free to go, it's done enough, and you can let it know your real age.
Yeah. That's good. It's interesting that they do forget like that. I guess that's having an unburdened exile, or a burdened exile. I mean,
right. Their attention is always at that younger part.
Yeah.
They can't take their eyes off of it because of the burdens. Yep. So assuming that we don't get to that exile in this conversation, what would you like to do next? What are these? Do any parts have anything else they want to share?
Yeah, the agitated one is just present. It's kind of basking in the attention, enjoying the fact that it's not having to well, I want to say not having to do its thing, but like it still is doing its thing. Like I've still definitely caught myself like gnashing my teeth in this conversation, and like clenching my stomach. I actually am doing it right now. But
see what happens if you send it those messages that you talked about earlier.
About that it doesn't have to.
Yeah, and about your age.
I think it is getting them. Like it is here right now in the present. And it is enjoying feeling its perspective change slowly. But it's just not all the way there. But I think it just needs more time of being out in the open like this instead of siloed. And I'm definitely going to make a point of focusing on it.
It's awesome.
Often until it has what it needs.
It's great.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
you're being so thorough, and you're not forgetting about parts. Yes, there are a lot of parts. Yes, there are a lot of connections, and they're jumping in front of each other, but it's the same parts, and you're bookmarking them and following up with them.
Yeah, I think what this conversation really gave me is the knowledge that this part is like the key part right now that I need to keep checking in with, because sometimes just when they all pop up, I don't know which one is like the one that needs me first. And it seems like it's this one, just like it was on Deserver before.
Yeah, that's my sense too, is that our work, it's getting so clear.
Yeah.
You know, each of these characters are becoming more and more defined, and just able to pick them out and communicate with them.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay. Anything else? Anything, questions, concerns, anything that we missed, or feedback for me?
I don't think I have anything else. I just appreciate having these sessions.
I do too.
Forward to next time. I know we already have another one on the calendar. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Okay. Well, have a good rest of your night.
You too. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.